What up, what up? What up, what up, what up? Welcome back, everybody. How y'all doing today? Thank y'all for joining. It's already Thursday. Football's going to start in a couple hours. So what not better than to set up the week 4 preview. All right. Let me put on my headphones here. I am back on the West Coast. Hopefully everybody has some fun plans this weekend. But yes, I am back on the West Coast. So let's get back to work. Without further ado, let's get to work. Let's get the matchup scene here. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. All right. We got Dallas versus Detroit. All right. So these teams both have almost an identical record. Dallas is 6-5-1 with that tie to Green Bay, and Detroit is 7-5. But the key here is the momentum. Dallas has all the momentum coming from a 3-game win streak, while Detroit has been somewhat inconsistent and even showing slippage, even after they had a competitive Thanksgiving game. But the crazy part is they're third in the NFC North. That's crazy. If y'all remember, the beginning of the year, everybody had Green Bay number 1 in the NFC North, and even had the Lions. Some people had the Lions, some people had the Packers because the Packers got Michael Parsons. I was one of them that jumped on the Packers bandwagon, but whatever. But now Detroit is third, and guess who's number 1? The Chicago Bears. But we'll get to that, okay? Let's just talk about, this game. We got Dak Prescott. His stats are pretty good. 3,200 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Pickens, not CeeDee Lamb, 73 receptions, 1,142 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And Goff has similar stats. 325 yards. I'm sorry. 3,025 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. With Gibbs rushing for 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, and St. Brown 884 yards with 9 touchdowns. So that's pretty. I got my Amazon stuff here. You're good, Blue. My Amazon came here and now my dog's whining. So anyway, I'm going with the Lions. Okay, Blue. Do I gotta pause it? It's okay. It's all right. Someone's at the door. He whines when someone's at the door because he wants to greet them. Anyway, I'm going to go with the Lions winning this one. I'm going just because to me they usually do, and I'm waiting for Dallas to mess up. Every time Dallas gets momentum, they mess up. So I'm just waiting for the epic Dallas choke, and Stephen A. Smith will be ready to clown them, right? Oh, hold on. Let me do my little sound effects. So, yeah. Dallas, they're going to do bad. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. Anyway, they do got a lot of momentum, so they could probably, this game could go either or. It's basically just me picking it because, I'm a Commanders fan. So, and Dallas has always choked no matter how good they've done, but they're in a different place now because they didn't have high expectations, and they're almost playing like the underdog, whereas when they did have high expectations throughout the years, they were always expected to win. Now it's like, oh no, they're not supposed to go this far without Parsons. And now you got Pickens blowing it out the water, overtaking CeeDee Lamb, which I don't think that'll be forever, but this year, this is Pickens' year with Dallas. So they're in a peculiar position, but it's interesting to see how far they'll go. But as a Commanders fan and an NFC East lover, I would like to see Dallas completely fail. I'm kidding. And I'm not even like Stephen A, but not to talk about other people, but yeah, so I'm going to give this one to Detroit. All right. So we got Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. This is the battle of the AFC North. What I call the dysfunctional division. I mean, you got both teams who literally could walk and win the division, but they keep messing it up. They keep losing games that they're not supposed to lose. Baltimore wasn't even supposed to be in the playoffs, but when Lamar Jackson came back, they went on a 5-game win streak. But the minute he has an off game, 2 fumbled losses and an interception, they tank. So this team only goes as far as Lamar goes. And Pittsburgh, on paper, they're looking like the favorites, but they're not performing the way they're supposed to perform. And you got Aaron Rodgers calling out his receivers. Aaron, you're toxic. You're toxic. What you said was true. They need to show up. They need to go to the film room. They need to do all that. Yes, I agree. But guess what, bro? You say the in-house. Only the coach can call people out publicly. Just the coach. Not the player dissing his players that he's in the locker room with every day, that they're going to war with every day. You don't diss your players. You get what I'm saying? So I think they're fixing the water at the unit next door. So sorry for the background noise. So stop doing that, Aaron. Stop it. Don't call them out publicly. And it just shows, for the way you're playing, you got no business talking about them like that. You got no business. Your numbers aren't that great. Just a hair over 2,000 yards. You know, you don't be talking about your players like that in public. Call them out personally, but don't do it in public. You know, don't do that. So, oh, wow. I forgot to. There we are. So okay, so let's talk about the numbers real quick. You know, they're 15th in points per game, 27th yards per game, and we're talking about Pittsburgh here. And the only reason why I'm saying their numbers is because Aaron pretty much has been available. He was hurt a couple times, but he's been there pretty much the whole year. The Ravens' numbers don't really matter because Lamar missed a lot of time, but he went on a 5-game win streak. Okay, so anyway, 6th in the league in defensive sacks, but 10th in the league in interceptions. 4th in the league in turnover differential. But again, they're dysfunctional, and they're not winning when they need to win. They're 6-6, and the Ravens are playing catch up, but Lamar pretty much has to play perfect the rest of the year. So anyway, whoever wins this, I mean, Pittsburgh should have been the clear-cut winner, and you could see why the fans are saying fire Tomlin. They're getting tired of it. You know what I mean? So I get that, but I mean, this is just a messy division. So who should I pick? I'm going to pick the Ravens just because Lamar, he can't mess up twice. He had 2 fumbles and an interception. He was the reason why they lost last game. So I'm going to have to go with Lamar, and I just feel like he can't lose 2 times in a row. And honestly, as far as the Steelers are concerned, if they don't make the playoffs this year, and I don't even say if they do make the playoffs, this should be Tomlin's last year. He needs to move on. I know the Rooneys are loyal to their coaches, but they are stuck. They are stuck. There's absolutely no reason their record should be where it is right now, especially with Baltimore taking themselves out of the equation early on in the year. Pittsburgh should have ran away with this. They should be at least 9-4, not 6-6. They should be 9-3, 8-4. So, but anyway, I'm gonna go with the Ravens because I don't expect Lamar to have a bad game, and I think Pittsburgh, they're gonna have okay games like they always do. They're gonna put up okay numbers, and then they're just gonna lose. So this goes to the Ravens. And who do you guys think is gonna win this division? That's the real question, because it just keeps flip-flopping. You know, I don't know. I thought this Pittsburgh was a clear winner. But anyway, enough about that. on to the next one. All right. Seattle at Atlanta. Okay. So Seattle has one of the best run defense in the league. Okay. They are playing so well that it doesn't even matter if Darnold chokes for the most part. And I say that about this game because the Falcons, their season is lost, right? But they could play spoiler if vintage Kirk Cousins shows up, if Bijan Robinson has a career day, which he's had plenty of those this year. So they could play spoiler, but Seattle's defense is the top run defense. So they can make some noise for sure. They could really, I wouldn't say this would be a blowout, but I wouldn't say this is a blowout, but at the end of the day, with the way they're playing overall, you got Sam Darnold, you got Kenneth Walker doing good, you got Smith Neba playing. He's got 1,300 reception yards. So there's no question about the offense. It's only if Darnold is going to choke. But assuming Kirk Cousins has an average day and they have to depend on Bijan Robinson, the fact that Seattle has a top run defense, that could spell trouble for the Falcons. So unless Kirk Cousins destroys it through the air, and first of all, not even their run defense, but their pass defense. Look, they're 13 interceptions for the year, second in the league. So, I mean, assuming Seattle's defense does its job, it doesn't matter how good Darnold plays this game. I think they're going to win this game. So that's my pick. I'm picking Seattle. All right. So we got Tennessee. So Tennessee at the Browns. So they're going to the Browns, okay? So this is the battle of the two most talked about quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL Draft. We got Shedeur Sanders versus Cam Ward. And I thought they were very similar. I thought they should have went 1 and 2. So even though Shedeur is a 5th round pick, if you look at both of their productions, they're not that great. And both of them are on terrible teams. But I feel like I'm excited to see these two rookies compete against each other because they were kind of like mini rivals. Ward was definitely egging Shedeur on. If you guys saw their workout videos, Ward was like, I came to play. I'm not showboating you, just completely calling Shedeur out on pretty much what a lot of the people around the league before they drafted him felt. They felt he was too extra. And Ward is like, no, I'm all football. So anyway, they had a little rivalry, and it'll be nice to see them compete against each other because at the end of the day, both their teams suck. Tennessee's defense is terrible. Tennessee's offense is terrible. Everything. But the Browns, the only reason why I say it might not be fair is because the Browns got Myles Garrett. And Cam Ward was sacked 48 times, which is the highest in the league. And you got a guy chasing the sack record going up against you. So Ward is going to be in a whole lot of trouble. So I don't know if this will be a good comparison to say, but it's still good to see them face each other head to head. And I hope both of them do well. But Ward, you're in a lot of trouble, bro. So, but you always got to read between the lines depending on who plays better than the other. Now, if Shedeur plays bad and Ward throws for like 3 or 4 touchdowns, that's a different story. But that ain't happening against Cleveland's defense, especially with the rookie, the way they've been playing and the way their line's been protecting. That's not happening. So, who do I pick? Simply because of Myles Garrett, I'm going to pick the Browns. So, that's my pick. I'm picking the Browns over the Titans. All right. So the Indianapolis Colts versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Welcome to the AFC South. Indy, who's been number one all year in the AFC South, just lost their spot to none other than the Jaguars. So this will be a great matchup in an already crowded conference with the Texans knocking on their door. But I'm going to have to go with the Colts over Jacksonville. You don't know which Jacksonville is going to show up. Even though kind of Daniel Jones kind of fizzled out a little bit, Indianapolis has had a steady run game and a steady passing offense. And they're doing really well this year. Had a little 2-game skid, whatever. But at the end of the day, I got to pick them over Jacksonville. And I do still think they'll win the division. But this will be a very tight matchup because Jacksonville is coming in hot. Jacksonville is coming in hot. I mean, can you even believe that they're first in their division? So their coach is doing good. Hold on. They're both 8-4, so we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna have to go with the Colts. So it depends on how well. Oh, welcome to LA, y'all. So yeah, I picked the Colts, and I expect them to cement their standings in this conference. So in the AFC South. So that's what I'm picking there. All right. So hold on. Blue. Stop, Blue. Come here. All right. It's like World War III with my neighbor's dogs. They hate on my dog so much. Anyway, we got Washington versus Minnesota. Another situation with 2 lost teams. I just feel like Minnesota doesn't have a quarterback. We have a quarterback, but our quarterback is hurt. Minnesota does not have a quarterback. And even if McCarthy is cleared to play, which I think he will be cleared to play, it doesn't matter who their QB is. They both suck. They're both bad. But we got Mariota on the Commanders' side who's made it competitive, and they gave Denver a run for their money. And honestly, last game, we would have taken it to double overtime if we actually were going to go to the playoffs. But they decided to go for it on 2, and they lost by 1 point. I can live with that because we know our season is lost anyway, so either go big or go home, So, but the Vikings, they had such a good team last year, and they got rid of Darnold. Now they're scrambling for a quarterback. I'm not saying Darnold is the best. We've seen him choke against the Rams. We've seen that. Against any formidable opponent, he chokes. But the Vikings got nothing. They had a little hope with Wentz. Boom, he went down. So because of that, and because I'm a Commanders fan, I'm going to have to go with Washington. The numbers on the screen don't matter because we've had 2 different quarterbacks. Same with the Vikings. A lot of these games now, with exception to like the ones with the top defenses and offenses, the numbers kind of really don't even matter anymore. It's just pretty much who can make a playoff push. So, but neither of these teams will. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Commanders. Another situation with 2 lost teams, or teams who've had their seasons lost. I mean, look, they're practically identical. Look at their numbers. 20.6 points per game, 20.5 points per game, 300 yards per game, 280 yards per game. Time of possession, whatever, 28. I mean, they're identical. Total defensive sacks, 25-21. Interceptions, they do got him on the interceptions, especially with Sauce Gardner leaving, which he wasn't even that good, and I think he's hurting Indy also. So, yeah, it's a lot going on. But anyway, back to this game. Useless game. McDaniels, I'm surprised he's still there. And as far as Taylor for the Jets, he's a good backup. He could do some numbers, but I don't know who to pick on this one. I guess because the Jets are at home, I'll give them the home field advantage. Not that it even matters. It's not like the New York fans are that kind to the Jets. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and pick the Jets on this one. Useless game. But the question is, what will happen first? Will Tua get benched for the rest of the year, or will McDaniels get fired? What will happen first? Y'all let me know in the comments. All right. Now this is a kind of a good game for the Bucks because they still want to get a hold of their division. They got the Panthers knocking on their front door for the division lead, and I just feel like they really need to take advantage of this mismatch. This is a mismatch. You know, the Saints, they got Tyler Scorrell or whatever his name is, and you know, they switch from Rattler. Their defense is bad. Their offense is bad. I mean, they get a couple interceptions, whatever, but this is another one where the numbers don't matter because just in every facet of the game, Tampa Bay's better. And they need this. They need this game because they need to get a stronger hold of their division. Let me see. Just real quick. Yeah, so with Carolina having a great year and playing like the underdogs, you know, Tampa Bay can be in trouble as far as winning that division, but they got an easy win with the Saints. I feel like they got this, so I'm going to have to go with the Bucks. Wow. Now, guess what, y'all? This is a game I'm very excited to see. Not because of playoff implications, but because two of the best quarterbacks in the league, top 5, easily top 3, Burrow and Josh Allen, they are competing. Let me fix the camera real quick. They are competing. And listen, Burrow doesn't have Higgins. As of this morning, he's still in concussion protocol. But in general, they are a world-class offense. So it'll be interesting to see how the absence, if he's absent, of Higgins will do in this game, right? Because as far as Buffalo's concerned, you got Josh Allen and you got Cook. They got the most rushing yards in the whole league. And Cincinnati's run defense is terrible. Don't get fooled last week how they played the Ravens. Cincinnati's run defense is terrible. Their defense overall is terrible. So I expect Josh Allen and company to run through the Bengals. But this is a problem for the Bills. Their defense is sporadic. Their defense is the reason why they are 8-4. They can't get it together. And they do have a great showing sometimes, but they should have been way further ahead in their division. I mean, you do have New England, surprise, surprise, who completely surprised everybody. They got 11 wins, the best record in the league. But we'll talk about the Patriots later. Actually, I don't know if I even have them playing this week. But anyway, yeah, Buffalo should be further along, but their defense has been their Achilles heel. And the last people they want to face is Chase and Burrow, especially if Chase, Burrow, and Higgins are playing. So I expect a shootout. I expect a great offensive game with these guys. But because the playoffs are on the line, I feel like Buffalo will play a little bit more desperate. Because 8-4, you can't get too comfortable at 8-4. Yes, you're second in your division, but you can't be too comfortable. You really got to win the rest of your games, or at least the next 3. So I feel like out of desperation, Buffalo's going to win. That's my pick, but this will be a shootout. Burrow is probably, with Mahomes sliding, and now that Burrow's healthy again, I mean, if he can stay healthy, he could easily be 1 or 2 of the best quarterback in the whole NFL. Obviously, I'm always going to pick Mahomes, but I mean, every time Burrow has came back or he's played a full season, he's just played insanely good. He is such a good quarterback. And you know, Josh Allen is Josh Allen. He's a rushing quarterback that has a crazy cannon arm. So he's always in the MVP conversation. So I expect a shootout, but because of the desperation factor, I'm going to have to go with Buffalo. All right. Denver versus Las Vegas. Another throwaway game. Denver has the second best record in the league. They have a stronghold on the division. The Chargers are not a threat to them. And you got the Chiefs third, trying to scramble to find their stride. So this is an easy win for Denver. Now, my question for this, the same way that I posed for Miami. What do you think is going to happen? Are they going to bench Geno for the rest of the year? Or is Carroll going to get fired? Pete Carroll going to get fired before the end of the season? What are y'all's predictions? Regardless of what happens, I don't see either of them coming back next year. So it's up to the Raiders if they're going to do it mid-season or at the end of the season. Because this has just been a terrible outing. And Carroll, with his age, I don't think they expected to dominate, but I feel like they should have had like a more win-now approach. I think that's what ownership had by bringing Carroll in there and pursuing Geno Smith so heavily. Why would you chase Geno Smith like that and give him big money? I mean, he didn't get Josh Allen money, but y'all paid him like he was a premier quarterback. You know what you're working with. You know what you're working with. Big mistake pursuing Geno. And Pete Carroll, big mistake for him thinking that it was going to be easier than it was. The way he's assembled his team has just been horrendous. So are they going to give him a couple years? They probably would have gave him a couple years if he went 8-8 or something. But 2-11, pretty much the worst record in the league with the exception of the Titans. Come on. There's no way Carroll and Geno will be back next year. That's just my prediction. So, all right. Now, I know I said I was excited about the Buffalo game, but this game here, Chicago versus the Packers, 1-2 in their division, right? 1-2 in the NFC North. Look at their numbers. 8th in points per game, as for the Packers 10th. 6th in yards per game, with the Packers 13th. Which the yards per game doesn't matter because it all depends on which Jordan Love shows up, you know. Total sacks, 23 versus 32 for the Packers. Total defensive interceptions, 17 for the Bears. 26 for the in ranking. No, hold on. 6 interceptions for the Packers. 24th in the league. But the turnover differential that the Bears have really is what's keeping them in the mix. Not that Caleb Williams has been playing bad. He's been doing good. What are his numbers? Caleb Williams is definitely surprising. I mean, I thought he was overhyped coming in the league, but he has shown that he's a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback on his way to being great. 2,700 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. He's doing good this year, and I guess he rubbed me the wrong way when he tried to compare himself to Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes was putting up 50 touchdowns, 4K yards, but now Williams is easily going to be a 3,000-yard passer with touchdowns in the 20s, in my opinion. But really, it's the Bears' defense. And this is where it's so crazy. If Green Bay's defense does what they're supposed to do, they could win them the game. Or if Love has his career day, 4 touchdown passes, most of the season that he did the other game, they could win. This is such a close game. And this is for all of the NFC North. Even though the Lions are kind of knocking on the door, we thought the Lions would be number 1. A lot of people did. I mean, this is the toughest division in the league, in my opinion, if you ask me. Yeah, the AFC West is a little crowded with Kansas City, the Chargers, and Denver. But this is tight, man. the Bears, the Packers, the Lions, everybody's fighting. And honestly, as good as the Bears are, not to take anything away from them, I think their youth is going to cost them. The Packers and the Lions are just too experienced. So I think eventually that's what's going to stop the Bears from making a deep playoff run. But you got to give it to them. They got a lot of potential, and they're going to be really good for years to come if they can keep up their defense and if Caleb Williams can keep improving the way he's already been improving from last year. So, but for this game in particular, who do I pick? I'm going to have to pick the Packers. It's crazy that I even had to hesitate because the beginning of the year, you asked me, Packers all the way. No, the Bears got a lot of momentum, but the Packers are going to prove why they were Super Bowl favorites at the beginning of the year. My Super Bowl favorite that I abandoned for the Rams about halfway through the season, right? The Packers are going to show you who they are. And if they win this big game, it's going to be a showdown between them and the Rams in the NFC title game, if you ask me. So speaking of the Rams, we got the Rams and the Cardinals. This game is useless for the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's not that guy. They need to get him out of there and shoot for another quarterback. They're not going to get the first pick. They're going to be 3-9. And I don't even think the quarterback class this year is that great, with the exception of maybe Manning, if he comes out. And he's inconsistent in college too. So, I mean, listen, Kyler Murray's not the guy. The Cardinals are going to be mediocre for a while. And the Rams, Matthew Stafford is coming in hot. He had a horrible game against the Panthers. And he's the only reason why the Panthers won. They barely won, and he had so many turnovers. So, listen, Matthew Stafford is my unanimous MVP. He's going to bounce back from last game, and he's going to throw all over the Cardinals, right? I mean, just look at the numbers that Matthew Stafford had. I mean, not look. I should download stats for you guys too. How much does he have? 3,000 yards passing already, 32 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. That's MVP right there. You got Kyren Williams, 800 yards. You got Puka Nacua, 1,000-yard receiver. But we can't forget about Davante Adams, who's completely emerged to that top-tier receiver that the Raiders thought they were going to get, right? He's the real deal. He is vintage Green Bay Davante Adams. Why? Because he has a solid quarterback. He has a MVP-type quarterback. And yes, Stafford is old, but his style of play can still give him a few more years of top-tier quarterbacking. He doesn't run a lot, and he has a big arm. That's how you stay long in the league. Tom Brady played forever because he wasn't running all the time. He was just throwing and reading defenses. And Stafford obviously is no Tom Brady, but he's the real deal. He is a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he's this year's MVP, in my opinion. So easy win for the Rams. This is another game that's going to be for the marbles. Probably not as exciting as the Green Bay-Chicago game or as the Buffalo-Cincinnati game, but this is a very, very tough game because you got both teams, right? Third in their respective division, trying to chase a playoff scenario. You got the Chiefs, third, 6-6. My Super Bowl pick. They are drowning. And you got the Texans, 7-5, which that's a surprise. So they're just happy to be there. They're just happy to be in the mix, happy to be fighting for a playoff, while the Chiefs are like, whoa, we're not used to this. So this is going to be a close game. Texans defense is good, right? But you got the Chiefs. You got Patrick Mahomes. He threw four touchdowns last week, even though they lost. But guess what? I'm going to give this one to the Chiefs. But it's crazy that we're talking like the Chiefs might not even make the playoffs. But for this game, I'm going to give it to the Chiefs. I don't see them catching up in their division. Denver is just too far ahead. They might surpass the Chargers if the Chargers has a funk. But regardless, this game goes to the Chiefs. I don't think they'll lose to the Texans as well as the Texans have been playing. So this will be a close game. So, and last but not least, Eagles versus the Chargers. This is another close game because both teams have so much pressure. The Chargers were also picked to be in the Super Bowl mix. You know, a lot of people, they pick, the Chargers, with Harbaugh, their defense, and Justin Herbert playing at an elite level. I knew it was fake because I knew Herbert is a choker also. Will he choke against the Eagles? The Eagles are sliding. Why? You got the offensive players supposedly hating on Jalen Hurts, but it's not that. It's not that. The Eagles are losing because Barkley is not dominating the games like he used to last year. The offense is a run-first offense, which is why I don't blame A.J. Brown if he wants to leave. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame him because guess what? Did you see how he was playing last week, A.J. Brown? Let's talk about the receiving end. He is a top-tier receiver. He was dominating. He was snatching the ball out of the air. He was their only glimmer of hope that week. I think Jaden Hurts threw for almost 200 yards, and 130 of them were to Brown. Somewhere along that line. I'm only estimating, y'all. I don't have the numbers in front of me. A.J. Brown is a top-tier receiver. But with that said, Philly is not a throwing team. They're at their best when throwing is their second option. They got the tuss push, and they got Saquon Barkley dominating. That's how they were able to go to the Super Bowl last year. It's not working now. Barkley only has 4 touchdowns with 740 yards. If he played like this last year, the Giants were absolutely right to trade him. But obviously they look dumb given the season he had last year. But the offense runs through Barkley. Until he gets back to vintage form, the Eagles are going to crash out. They're going to be done. And you got Dallas, of all people, knocking on the NFC East front door, which I would have never thought that. And as far as the Chargers are concerned, we don't know which one's going to show up. Who's going to show up? For Justin Herbert. The choker Justin Herbert or the elite top-tier quarterback Justin Herbert? We don't know. They're inconsistent. So this will be a very close game because nobody knows who to pick. It's a note to make that Jalen Carter on the Philadelphia defense is going to be out because he has surgery on his shoulders. So that could help Herbert get a little bit more offensive steam going. But at the end of the day, both teams, I'm not going to say the Eagles. The Eagles have been consistent. They just haven't got their running game going, but they've been solid. They know how to win. But the Chargers have been very inconsistent. They even lost to my Commanders because we don't know which Herbert's going to show up. We don't know which defense is going to show up. They look good on paper, but in my opinion, the Chargers are the biggest pretenders this year. Not to be harsh on them, but I just think they're pretenders. And they're in a crowded division, even though they're second. You know, do you see them overlapping Denver? No, I think the Chiefs could overlap them. So, who do I pick? Because the Eagles are in so much disarray off the field, and because Barkley hasn't found his stride yet, I'm going to have to give this one to the Chargers. And honestly, A.J. Brown should look for a trade because he needs to be on a pass-heavy team. The Eagles, they got to do some soul-searching when they go in the offseason. Because even if they make the playoffs, they're going to be limping in the playoffs. And they have to figure out how they can stick with their winning formula. So I'm going to have to go with the Chargers on this one. And those are my picks for Week 14, y'all.